Hi everyone! Welcome to Wednesdays with Whitney. I'm Whitney, and today we are speaking with Jennifer Chittenden, who is, if you haven't already met her, I feel like probably most of you have, she is the Executive Director of the Des Moines Downtown Chamber. And today we are going to talk about the LEAP program.
That's right.
Yay! So, LEAP is fairly new to Des Moines. Can you tell me about how it started? What was the impetus? How did this all happen?
Oh, that's my favorite question. We're so proud of the LEAP program at the Downtown Chamber. It actually started in 2015, and it was in response to an American Express survey that showed that Iowa was ranked last in the nation with regards to women-owned businesses and their economic impact. And as a Chamber of Commerce, we were pretty young at that time, and we looked at that issue and we said, you know what, that is not a women's issue, that is an economic issue.
Yes.
As a Chamber, it's our responsibility to address that. And so we developed the LEAP program. And here we are in year 4, and it's been magnificently successful.
It really has, and I get the opportunity. Was there all last year, and then this year I'm photographing the events as well. And watching the crowd grow, it's
That's true. It seems like everybody who comes back with a friend or two every time. That's actually one of the biggest things that we're facing right now is the growth. And what are we going to expect next year for numbers, and do we have enough space? So we're analyzing that really well right now.
That's an exciting problem to have.
It's a great problem to have.
Like, let's do that.
Right.
Awesome. So tell me about how you structure LEAP and how the thought process that goes into creating a program, because it's a 10-month program. Is that accurate?
It's a 10-month program, starts in March every year. And we put a lot of thought into the structure and a lot of thought into the strategy behind the LEAP program and what makes it work. And it starts with, we have a curriculum committee. And the committee sits down every time, starting at the end of the summer. So right now we're looking at curriculum for next year. And we don't start with the speakers. A lot of people think we start with the speakers.
Which is something that surprised me, because your speakers are always so strong.
Right.
So I would have thought, oh, they're making a list of all the strong leaders and speakers and then building curriculum around that.
Right.
But the curriculum is so cohesive. So how do you make that happen?
So that's the strategy piece of that. We are looking at feedback from surveys. We're listening to the community and looking for issues. And what we try to extrapolate from all of that is, what are the biggest needs for women in business, women in companies looking to move up, women who are thinking about starting a business? What curriculum do they really need right now? What are those topics or areas of professional development that we can bring to them that they're not necessarily getting anywhere else? And so we look for those gaps, and how do we fill that? Secondary to that is, which speakers can speak to those different topics and those focus areas.
You guys do an amazing job of that, and every speaker that I have seen, there's a common core, right? These are all positive leaders in the community, but they all have a slightly different take, and they're all tackling a different issue. But every single one of them comes with energy and enthusiasm and a true commitment to making the people in front of them, to lighting a fire.
Well, and that's absolutely critical. As we are looking at speakers, we look at what is that speaking presence that they have. What is the personality, and does it really fit with our LEAP audience and their personalities? And we want to make sure that everybody who comes to the LEAP program leaves with a fire in their belly, that this person's able to bring that out in them. And we have so many talented leaders and speakers in our community already. So we're always really happy to present our lineup for the next year.
Des Moines is, I would say, chock full. I don't know a ton about other communities. I've only lived in a few. But coming back to Des Moines and seeing the accessibility of the leaders, it adds to, when we say you can actually access your leaders, LEAP is a place where you can access your leaders. You can walk up to them after the conversation, and they're there to answer your questions. And these are humble, well-spoken people that are making moves in Des Moines.
Well, I think that's always a good place to bring up, what does LEAP even stand for in the
first place? Let's talk about that.
So this ties right into that. I happen to be a fan of acronyms. You'll see that in a lot of our chamber programs, or historically when I was a resident assistant. We always have acronyms.
Me too!
Yeah.
High five!
So
Responsible humans unite.
That's right. I'm always on call for good acronyms.
Yes.
So I actually came up with the acronym first of LEAP, and then how did I tie words into it, but it works out beautifully.
Oh, it does.
It stands for Leadership, Education, and Advancement Pipeline. And so as you talk about the access to the leaders, that is the pipeline piece. When LEAP first started in 2015, we had a really strong focus in our curriculum on connecting to individuals and initiatives to help women start and grow their businesses. And that was very much the pipeline. But we found that individuals who come to these workshops, they need a people connection too, not just the entity or the initiative, but they really want that person that they feel like they can call up after a workshop and ask questions or have coffee with them.
When I have found, so I'm a part of a lot of networking groups or different, you know, speaking. I love going to anything motivational. It like feeds me. So, but what I love about Leap so much is that while there are a lot of small business owners there, I don't know the demographics, but I would say there's just as many people who are actively working and looking to advance within jobs, within companies. And I love being around that energy because for me, you know, while I kind of live in the small business world, we need the other people out there to support that. We need them to know, and we need them to be invested in, you know, in what we're building too. Like just as we want to, you know, give back to the corporations that are helping sustain Des Moines.
Well, and that's actually part of the growth situation that we're having. And we didn't anticipate that at the beginning, that we really built it for the small and growing business owner. But there was a demand within the corporate side, not necessarily the entrepreneurship, but the intrapreneurship. And so we're seeing a lot of corporations take advantage of sending groups of individuals to the LEAP program. They'll often have a table there. And my favorite feedback from these groups is that they take that into their internal meetings later on. Maybe it's internal decision makers, or maybe they have an internal women's group, but they take that LEAP content and then they talk about how does that apply to their company. And that is valuable too.
I love that.
But the other value of that is for them to also know who are those small business owners out there like the Whitney Warrens that they need to be looking out for and be supporting.
And I think that anytime, and something we also talked about is that it's not just for women. The LEAP programming is to advance women in their careers and in their small businesses, but men are 100% invited and encouraged. And
Absolutely.
I think that linking of arms, that if we start to think of ourselves as separate, you know, small business owners can only network with small business owners, or corporate people can only network with corporate, we're missing everything.
So true.
We're just like missing out on perspective and support. So I love that when I see dudes show up and they're there and they're active and they're sitting, sometimes there's, you know, one dude at a table full of women and I'm like, high five, bro. Like, that's great. Thank you for showing up and being here with us.
Yeah, and that really is important. We need men at these events and any women-centric event for those efforts to work. I think that's really critical, and the more the merrier. So I encourage anybody who's brave enough to be the most popular man at the table, come to the LEAP program. You will be popular because we do want their opinions, and we want to know, we want them to be aware of sometimes of what we're going through as well, and that conversation is so critical. You talked about bringing people together, and I think that's the role of a Chamber of Commerce in any community, is to be a convener of people. And in this case, whether you're at a corporation, you're an individual business, you're male, you're female, we can bring everybody together in the same room and we can have a conversation and we can advance as a community because of those conversations.
I'm just stuck on, you're a convener of people. Like, I love that. I've never, maybe this is something that's like very much known in the chamber world, but I love that.
Chamber speak.
Is that chamber speak? We convene
to
the
some
people.
degree. My favorite, to get a little off topic, is chamber chicken. So if you ever go to a function, you have that rubbery chicken dish. That's known in the industry as chamber chicken.
I love that. I need to know all the chambers speak. So I started going to LEAP last year. And my friend Ashley Fahey, who just made the leap into entrepreneurship herself, and actually you'll be seeing her next week. So Ashley's going to be jumping on. Yes, I know. She's going to be jumping on to talk about one of my new favorite health food products that she herself is creating. So we'll talk more about that. But Ashley had come to me for headshots, I think last February. It seems like an eternity ago now. And at the time, she's like, you really need to come to LEAP. You need to come to LEAP. You need to come to LEAP. And every single email was like, so when can I take you to LEAP? And I finally went, and I was like, oh, I should have been doing this for a while. Okay. Like, it was perfect. Yes. And our first interaction, so I'm sitting next to Ashley, and the speaker is Sarah Noel Wilson. So I don't know if you guys know how this story ends or begins or whatever. If you've seen Sarah speak, you know that she makes an impact every time she shows up in a room. And I'd never met Sarah before. And I just remember sitting next to Ashley, and Sarah's having us do some work and we're writing some things down. And I said, and Sarah was asking for volunteers to come up in front of the room. And I was like, well, dang it, I'm going to do it. So
You're a brave soul.
Because I just, I was in a risk-taking mood that day. And so I stood up and she asked us to share, I believe she asked us to share what we were going to say yes to and what we were going to say no to. Mm-hmm. And I remember standing, and I didn't know this before I wrote it down, but I remember saying I'm going to say no to bad dates and I'm going to say yes to, I don't know what my opportunity was, but I remember saying that I'm going to say no to bad dates in front of a very large audience of people.
Oh,
and just being okay, that happened. But Sarah, to everyone who stood up in that room, gave a 1 hour coaching session too. Mm-hmm. So I followed up with her, and I've talked to a lot of coaches. I have a lot of great relationships with coaches out there. And the second I saw Sarah on stage, I just knew that whatever her energy was the energy I needed.
Yeah.
And we had our very first lunch conversation was intense in the way that I love
to just,
and you're just I know me better now.
Yeah.
Thank you. And so Sarah and I ended up working together. She's still my coach informally, but formally she started coaching me, and we were worked together for 6 months. And I really, that relationship started at Leap. And now Sarah is out on her own doing what she has always been doing, but now doing it full time, and speaking and creating curriculum and making huge impact. Yeah. And these are all Leap people. These are Leap connections.
That's exactly right. The connections are there, and if it's not somebody's moment right now to take that risk, it will be soon if they continue to attend the event.
I love that. Mm-hmm. And just that combined energy, right? You're sitting at a table with people that maybe you know what you want and you're driving towards it, or maybe you don't know what you want and you still are looking to be inspired. Mm-hmm. Ashley and I's conversations were very much, she knew she was looking for something. When I met Ashley, she was looking for something. And throughout our process of going to Leap, getting lunch, just in general talking about what entrepreneurship looks like, she found it.
She did. Mm-hmm.
And it's amazing, and you guys will know next week all about it. But I think that's a beautiful thing that comes out of it, just those small interactions, and I'm sure that happens all over the place all the time.
We actually call it the safety net effect. So it's when you get to come to this event and you build that network of individuals that you see on a regular basis, you do start to feel like you can take a little more risk, or you can challenge yourself at a higher level, because if something were to happen and you were to fall, now you are surrounded by a group of people who are going to lift you up better and faster. And so you really can't fail because you're in a room of others who are just right there alongside you for the journey.
I love that. Mm-hmm. So, something else that we talk a lot about, and something that the speakers talk a lot about, is risk-taking. Mm-hmm. And both Ashley and Sarah have taken big risks recently and continue to take big risks. But can you speak a little bit to that and how the Leap curriculum works with risk or encourages risk? Because you were just...
Yeah, it does. That's a topic that we look at every year. So we'll always bring in negotiation skills and some leadership skills in there too. Mm-hmm. But what we want to do through every topic and every speaker is, how do they challenge the audience? What are those questions or those stories that are going to have a person look introspectively? Mm-hmm. What's holding them back? And you talk about Sarah Noel Wilson. I remember hers especially well. Not just because she brought along cartoons by Nathan Wright, which were phenomenal, by the way. It's so much fun. But because she talked about what are those saboteurs who sort of live inside your mind and who tell you that you can or can't do something. And what she had us do during that workshop is to identify and actually name those saboteurs so that we became familiar with them, so that when that saboteur started talking to us again the next time, we could quiet them or we could learn from them, whichever the case was. But that's where the risk-taking comes in there too, is every speaker is challenging a person to really listen to themselves, whether it's your soul, it's your mindset, it's some of the people around you, but to really listen and to follow those dreams, whatever those may be.
I love that. I love that so much. So, how can people continue to get involved with Leap? If you are not already going to this, I mean, obviously, this is why we're here, right? You need to be going to this.
Yes.
How does that happen for people?
So you just go to our website, dtchamber.com, and you can click on the events calendar, or on our homepage is the upcoming Leap Summit. We'll get to that, I'm sure.
Yes.
But you can just sign up online, and it is open to not just chamber members, but also the general public. We've always felt like the accessibility of the program beyond our chamber membership is really critical.
Absolutely.
So, and your registration gets you a meal in addition to the networking and the speaker.
And before we sign off, so this year Leap has partnered with a nonprofit So you talk about, and it happens to be Dress for Success, guys. Not unfamiliar around these parts. So tell us about how you're linking arms with Dress for Success and how we can make an impact there.
So we have a committee focused on the LEAP program, in addition to the curriculum committee. And the committee felt it was really important for LEAP, now going into its 4th year, that we have more of a philanthropic edge. And so we decided that we were going to adopt a nonprofit partner for this year, and had some nominations and submissions, and finally took a vote and decided on Dress for Success as our philanthropic partner. So what happens with that is every LEAP session, our attendees have the option to bring their donations to the LEAP program. That's a really easy way to donate. They can also contribute monetarily. And then Dress for Success is there too, their staff and some of their partners. So we get a chance to interact and get to know them as a nonprofit organization better. A
lot of the women from the professional women's group that I photographed earlier this year, I get to see them at the LEAP events.
They're incredible women.
Oh, they're incredible. And I get to have those continued touch points with these people. And I think that's actually, getting to see new faces, but there's a lot of the same faces that maybe I don't see other times during the month.
Right.
And I know I get to see them at LEAP.
Right. You can look forward to that. You have your network there.
Exactly. Well, thank you guys so much for joining us today. Thank you, Jennifer, for joining us and coming to the studio. And next week, we'll be back with Ashley Fahey, a LEAP person as well, and we'll be talking about her newest adventure.
Awesome. Wonderful. Thank you.
Bye, guys.